If you're a heating and air conditioning technician or even a salesperson, why is it important for you to pay attention to what you accept responsibilities for? And why does it matter? This is a fantastic question. I'm Scott Bell, coming to you live from Haleiwa, Oahu on a perfect day to talk about sales and business and a fantastic day to talk about you for HVAC technicians' sales secrets. All right, so one of the things that you're told is as an adult, you need to accept responsibilities for things that you do, which is true, yes. But if I just take that as a global rule and I don't assign like extra meaning to it, that means I'm going to accept responsibility for all sorts of wild and wacky stuff that absolutely has nothing to do with me, okay? And so the reason I bring this up is one of the things that I see salespeople, entrepreneurs struggle with is they accept responsibility for things that they had no part of, nothing to do with, and it puts them into an emotional slide. And they're like, hey, XYZ thing happened. I'm accepting responsibility for it. And it's like, well, time out. Okay, let's work through this. Let's have a really super importante conversation of like, why should you accept all of the responsibility and the blame for this? Like you can take like 0 to 100, okay? And you may say, hey, look, Scott, it's 50% my fault. Is completely different than it's 100% my fault. And so what I see people get caught up in is there's a problem, there's an issue, there's a scope of work, there's an argument, and it takes two people to tango. It takes two people to have a conversation. It takes two people to interact. But what they do is they like, I'm going to accept all of this responsibility. And then they have some emotional turmoil because they're like, what's wrong with me? Why am I broken? Why can't I get this right? Why? And the other person is like, oh, they're not ever thinking about it again. They're like, well, the beach is in front of me. They're at the beach surfing. Today's got good waves. They're at the beach surfing, not even thinking about what you accepted responsibility for. And so I'm going to give you some examples completely not to do with business and not to do with sales. But before we go there, you should absolutely join my email publication. Go to this URL, type it into a browser, drop in your name, your email address, maybe your phone number. I'll give you the goods, not in the Facebook group, not in the YouTube channel, private coaching, private training, and occasionally I try to sell you stuff. I got to pay for like my Ren Spooner Aloha shirts and my trips to Hawaii, okay? So let's say that I'm dating somebody, okay? I'm dating somebody and they break up with me. Okay, I can ask what led to this breakup. Was it me? Was it them? Well, if I was being a jerk, I would have to go like on this bar of acceptance, I'm going to have to start moving it over. Now, let's say that significant other cheated on me. Well, how much of that responsibility is on me? Is it 100%? Probably not. But let's take this same example to somebody who gets angry in a sales process. Let's take this same example to somebody who calls and says, hey, I want to get bids. Now, growing up in the heating and air trades, this would happen occasionally. Someone would call out companies and they would call and get bids, and they would not have a good encounter with the first salesperson, so their emotions would escalate. They would not have a good encounter with the second salesperson because the first person ruined it for them. And then me, the third sales guy, would come out not taking crap from anybody, and they're escalated and then they're pushed. And then they'd be like, Scott, you get the heck out of my house and you get the heck out of this call. You're a bad salesperson. So in my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, I better accept all the responsibility for this. And then it would put me into a negative nosedive into a sales slump because I was accepting and going, wait a minute, I created problems, I created issues, I've got all these worries, and I got all these concerns, and it would pull me off my mission and purpose, okay? So I wanted to give you a real life example of like, okay, what am I supposed to accept responsibility for here? What at the end of the day, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? You got to build out both columns. You got to build out both columns because in your mind, you're going to be like, negativity trap. I will find all the negative reasons that I can. I will talk about all the negative stuff, but I won't focus on any of the good. So I can remember one of the worst calls that I ever got kicked out of. The manager ended up calling behind, and because like this homeowner was just super angry with me that I had dared to have a conversation. And here's what had happened was the first sales guy didn't do what they were supposed to. Had nothing to do with me, different company. Second sales guy kind of got irritated with the homeowner because of the way that they took out what was going on. And then all of that anger and frustration got taken out on me from two salespeople. And so manager pulls me aside and was like, Scott, listen, On this one, it's not your fault. It's not your responsibility to worry about this. It's already been dealt with by me. So like, you got to take the time to figure out like, hey, you got to take the time to figure out who is responsible for what, so that you can assert and say like, hey, here is what I'm going to do with this information. Now, if it is your fault, if it is your responsibility, then you've got to own up to it. And like, there may be a point, depending upon what has happened in your life, that you may need to get some help professionally about this, about your inward thoughts, about beliefs about yourself. If it pushes you down and you're like, I suck, I'm not good, everybody hates me, my dog doesn't like me, my wife doesn't care for me, my family doesn't, like, if you start going down that path, that's like a major timeout zone to be like, I need to take an emotional break and I need to get some professional help. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a doctor, attorney, marriage counselor, or therapist, but I will share with you, there is a point where you're broken on the inside. You got to get somebody to mend you up and fix you, okay? So pay attention to what you're accepting responsibility for. Now, what I'm not saying is for you to be like, well, I'm not responsible, so I'm not doing, no. Like, there is a level on this bar somewhere that, you know, you're responsible for. And if you're constantly at zero and you're like, it's not my fault, it's not my fault, it's not my fault, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? Because like, that's gonna be bad for your health, as Ice Cube says. You got 1 of 3 things to do from here. Just 1 of 3, find the subscribe button, click on it. Every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. 2, hit follow. 3, share this video with a friend. We'll see you soon. Aloha, mahalo.